Hello, welcome to Sideways. You know, I never really noticed, but this time of year, there are far fewer birds singing. I know it sounds ridiculous. I've got to this stage in my life and didn't realise that, but there we are. Anyway, this week, we're talking about being assertive, why it's something we struggle with, why it matters, and how we can learn to get better at it. I try on a virtual beret, which leads us on to a discussion about why the Scouts was an organisation I wasn't really right for. We learn how long it would take to get to the sun in a jumbo jet, and Martin reveals that he told his children so many lies when they were young that they even have a favourite one. Oh, and he tells us how he treats himself to a bit of luxury in the bathroom. It's a good one, this. You ought to listen to it. Assertiveness.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
You're wearing a virtual beret, aren't you?
Well, I thought, as these sort of virtual tools exist, it'd be a shame not to use them ever.
It would, yeah. It suits you.
Do you think do you think a beret suits me? Perhaps I might buy one in real life and wear it.
I think, yeah. Well, we used to wear one in the Scouts, didn't we?
I didn't ever wear a beret in the Scouts.
Didn't you?
Don't think so. Don't think I had a... Did you have to wear them? Did you have to wear berets for every Scout meeting?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we used a cap in the Cubs and a beret in the Scouts.
I remember the cap in the Cubs, but I don't remember having a beret in the Scouts. I don't think we wore. I don't think we wore them.
Oh, you're probably one of those poor troops, weren't you, that couldn't afford much?
Yeah, you were obviously in a foppish troop.
Well, I think it was.
You were. What were you in the dandies? Were you?
We were in the Some Mothers Do Have 'Em troop.
Did you have to wear really big cuffs on your shirts and stuff?
No, it did flop down at the side, sort of thing. You had to put it correct, and the badge was above. I think it was above your right eye, above your left eye. I think the badge had to be. So it's all looked very smart. I do
remember the existence of berets in Scouts, but I'm pretty sure we didn't wear them. I certainly never wore one. I can't imagine that I would have been prepared to buck the trend to the extent that everybody else wore one and I refused to.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine that either.
Although I did draw the line at caving. Everyone else went caving. I wasn't having any of that.
Oh yeah, no, it's wonderful.
No, it's not. It's horrible being in closed spaces like that.
I probably wouldn't do it now, I'd say, but at the time, yeah, it's fantastic fun.
I don't really know why I was in the Scouts, because I didn't like doing anything that the Scouts did. I didn't want to climb anything. I didn't want to go down any holes, and I didn't want to be in a canoe.
Yeah, it's probably the wrong organisation for you then in that case, yeah.
Yeah, my mum made me do it.
Now we're getting to the bottom of it, aren't we? You were doing it for someone else's purpose rather than your own.
She thought it would be good for me, but she didn't care about my unhappiness, so I'm just getting rid of my beret, because...
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise you won't be able to take me seriously, and I know it's important that you take me seriously.
Well, it's very rare that I do, but thank you for the opportunity to do so. Yeah,
I thought I'd set up that joke for you so that you could slot it home.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nicely crossed. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, was assertiveness.
I know all about that.
Well, it's one of your ideas, so I'm going to expect a little bit of heavy lifting from you. On this one, but it actually dovetails quite nicely in with our episode we did called How to Set Boundaries as well, which was season 3, episode 15. If anyone wants to look that one up, I
don't want to look it up.
No, well, it's sort of twinned with this one almost. I think it goes quite nicely. But before we start, we've had a bit of feedback from last week's episode. We did one on lying, didn't we?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, crack and chips seem to go down quite well. People quite liked that idea. I had some feedback on that, bit of mirth. There was a bit of feedback on the Nigels, because apparently we left off Nigel Davenport. That should have been a bit of a shoe-in. But I still can't really visualise him. No, well, I looked him up because he's an actor.
Right. What was he in?
There was a lot of stuff he was in. I can't remember. I did look it up, but I've forgotten now because it was a few days ago. I did the research on that, but I know
he's obviously a significant, memorable actor. Then, isn't he? If you can't remember anything he was in.
Well, I think he was born in sort of 1929 or 1930, something like that. So He was in a lot of films that way before my time, but
Right. Okay. I must admit, my highlight from last week's episode was crack and chips.
crack and chips. Yeah.
That was the part that made me chuckle long afterwards.
Whilst we were doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Nigels as well.
Oh.
Lizzie, my youngest, is a teacher, said there's a student at a school called Nigel. So it hasn't died out completely. There are some still young Nigels coming through.
Yeah, I wonder how you'd feel about being called Nigel these days. I bet you probably wouldn't be best pleased about it, would you?
I don't know. You'd have to check with the people that are carrying that name, I suppose.
Do you ever wish you weren't called Martin?
No, not really.
No.
I don't have an issue with the name particularly, no.
No. I suppose most of us, we're so used to our name, it would be difficult to adopt a position where we felt that it was one that we didn't want or inappropriate for us.
Some people use their middle names, don't they, because they're unhappy with their first name, or often they use a middle name if they've been named after their dad, for example. And so there's two people in the house with the same name, so they tend to use their middle name.
Well, I'd have to call myself Christopher.
Yeah.
Which I don't like as much as Graham.
I might start calling you that for a laugh then.
Christopher, yeah, no one's ever called me Christopher. But interestingly, about taking your father's name, and I haven't sort of spoken to him openly about this, but I'm pretty sure that Tom, my son, is not terribly chuffed about the fact that we gave him my father's middle name, okay, which was Irving.
Irving, okay, that's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think it's because of his age, really. I suspect when he gets older, he'll probably be quite pleased to have a more unusual middle name.
Yeah, I think so.
But
I haven't got a middle name. I was sadly let down there. So
yeah, Beth hasn't got a middle name either, and it's one of the things I feel perpetually guilty about.
Well, I was thinking perhaps I'd just go and change my name by Deepa and pop one in for myself. I can
think of plenty of names that you could use.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure, but not broadcastable, or probably won't be allowed on the register.
Didn't we have a conversation about that recently?
We did, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we did. But also,
sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to move on slightly from that before we got too sidetracked. But Lizzie also reminded me, talking about lying. She reminded me of her favourite lie that I told her when she was young. Now, the fact she has a favourite is quite worrying because that sort of conjures up that there's obviously been a litany of untruths that I've told my daughters whilst they were young. But she reminded me of the fact when we used to go to quite a lot of art and craft shows when they were younger. And you know that artists will often be selling limited edition prints.
Yeah.
And in the corner of the print, they'd have a little fraction that said, like 25 over 100, which meant it was the 25th it was number 25 out of 100 limited edition prints. So I told them that was the score that had been allocated to that particular piece of work. So you could tell how good it was, what other people thought. And they believed that for a number of years, apparently.
That's excellent.
Yeah, they both of them took that one on, and I didn't tell them. They just worked out for themselves later on. But that was her favourite lie, apparently. So it is quite a nice lie, I suppose. It's obviously it's quite harmless. Yeah,
quite amusing. But the other thing I quite like about that lie is that if you bought a limited edition print and you bought 1 out of 100. There's some kudos to that, I think.
There is, yeah.
Whereas, according to your lie, that's like the worst one you would have bought.
Yeah, it is. If you get number one, that's sought after. In fact, artists will charge you more for the lower numbers.
Well, anyway. I've got before we start this week.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to share this with you because last week I was asking you about how big clouds are.
Yes, you were.
And you were woefully inadequate in terms of your response. Well, I don't know. I obviously it's something about space that's been kind of occupying my mind recently, and I don't know how it happened, but I found myself recently trying to find out how long it would take to get to the sun in a jumbo jet. Have you ever thought about that?
No, I know it. The sun is 93 million miles.
Oh, I don't know how far away it is, and I know there are lots of nerdy facts you have to take into account, like if you set off, by the time you got there, it wouldn't be where it was when you set off and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
But let's just put all that aside.
Okay.
Because this is how it kind of worked out. I found out that it would take 19 years in a jumbo jet to get to the sun.
Okay.
Right, okay, which is quite a long time.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting fact. Then, for some reason, I fell down another hole, and I wanted to find out how long it would take to watch every movie ever made.
Okay.
Now, it turns out someone's done this calculation. I can't promise that. I don't know how accurate it is. So I'm, if anybody's out there who's done this calculation disagrees with me, that's fine. But it turns out that the only calculation I found said that it would take 38 years to watch every movie back to back that's ever been made. So if you travel to the sun in a jumbo jet and back again, you could watch all the movies that have ever been shown in in-flight movies, and you'd have finished them by the time you got home again.
Would you go round to the sun and come back, or just turn around on a sixpence and come back once you hit the surface?
I think you'd have to. We couldn't land, could you?
No, you wouldn't get anywhere near it. I mean, this is all hypothetical stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think you'd have to come. Well, I don't know. Maybe you could have a stopover.
One of the planets.
Breakfast or something. And then come back and sort of plough your way through the rest of the movies you haven't watched.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I find it difficult to sit through one movie. So 38 years of them, I think that would be a massive struggle.
You'd be shifting around in your airplane. You'd have to stand up and stretch your legs, wouldn't you? You couldn't take all that on board.
Yeah. Anyway, there we are.
Anyway, we get back to the subject matter.
All right.
Assertiveness. Yeah. So I just want to do a quick definition that I looked up.
Okay.
Down to you two, because this is one of your areas of expertise. So the definition I found was the quality of being self-assured and confident without being aggressive to defend a point of view or relevant statement. And it goes on to say that it's a skill that can be learned and it's a mode of communication. Does that sort of sum it up?
Yeah, it's lovely. Very nice. Yeah, I don't think I couldn't improve on that if I tried.
I want to come on to that, how it can be learned, which is really where I was going to be quite much more over to you on that, on the bit of how to be more assertive. So we can either do that first, or we can look at some of the other notes I made on what are the benefits of being assertive, what are the dangers of not being assertive, and why some people aren't assertive. Okay,
yeah, let's do that.
You want to do those?
Can we start with a quote?
Yeah, if you've got one to hand.
I've got one.
Yeah, cool.
Novelist Louisa May Alcott once said, "The duty we owe ourselves is greater than that we owe others," which is something important to remember when you're trying to be assertive.
What are the benefits then of being assertive? And this is what again, you can chip in on this, because this is what I came up in the research. And this is sort of vital in recovery, I think, because when we rebuild our lives and attempt to be the best possible version of ourselves, I think getting assertiveness involved in that is going to stand us in good stead. And the fact that it's also linked, so I understand, to self-esteem.
Definitely.
Which is, whilst we're in the madness of addiction, our self-esteem is on the floor. It's totally crap. So
have you got in your notes, are you covering in your notes the alternatives to assertiveness?
No.
So if you're not being assertive, you're being one of three other things.
Okay, sort of, but we'll come on to that. So I think you'll probably do it in a fashion which is better than my half-baked notes. Okay.
That wasn't very assertive of you.
It wasn't really, was it? And that's we'll come on to why some people are not assertive, perhaps fall into that category. But some of the benefits, okay, it's three little points that come up.
Lovely.
If you can master how to be assertive, you tend to end up with less anxiety and depression.
For sure.
A greater sense of agency and better relationships.
Yep.
And a higher self-esteem and confidence. So, again, all those things I think are vital for those of us that are in recovery, whatever stage of recovery, really, if it's early or several years down the line. I think we can all learn from this and perhaps to be a bit more assertive to improve things.
Yeah, I mean, I go further than that and say that those things are essential for all of us in our lives, aren't they?
I was thinking that as I said it, I thought that's a bit reductive.
Well, no, I mean, you're right, because I mean, this is a podcast essentially about recovery and addiction. Yeah. But I think, as we often find, there are lots of things that we highlight as being important for people in recovery that people who are not in recovery shouldn't think, oh, well, that's all right, I don't need to do that. You definitely do. That's part. I think, quite often the situation is more that it's more challenging perhaps for people who are in recovery, or more challenging for people who've got a history of addiction. But, most of the things we talk about are things that we all need to be better at.
Which is good, because I think we get quite a lot of people that listen to our podcast that aren't in recovery.
Yeah, which is good, really.
It is. Well, the feedback I get is that they quite like the humour involved, and obviously that's from I put most of that into the podcast, and you're a bit of a wingman on that. But yeah,
that was quite assertive. Inaccurate, but assertive.
So the next bit was, what are the dangers of not asserting yourself? Okay, and the 3 points that come up here was, if you don't assert yourself, you'll end up experiencing the sensitivity to criticism, insecurity and anxiety, and low self-esteem. So that's pretty much the opposite of what I said on the benefits, really. And I think some of us can appreciate the next point, that you can end up being treated like an emotional doormat whose needs always come second.
Yeah, if you can't be assertive, then you end up living your life according to other people's needs and desires.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. You kind of go through life living on behalf of someone else, living at the behest of someone else, or, never really thinking about what you need, thinking primarily about what other people need. And then you kind of if you live a life like that throughout your life, you get to the end of your life and you think, hang on, I haven't done what I wanted to do. I've done everything that other people wanted me to.
A bit like joining the Scouts when you didn't want to.
Exactly that. Exactly that. But that's an interesting point. There is a serious point in there, because I think a lot of the things that I've struggled with over the years in terms of, inability to say no or people pleasing came from my relationship with my mother. I was so anxious not to upset her and to make sure I said yes to her all the time. It was very difficult to assert myself. And I think a lot of people listening to this, if they think, oh yeah, I'm not as assertive as I need to be, a lot of the time you'll be able to trace it back to childhood. There was something there that kind of made you think, hang on, there is a greater need around me than the need I have to tread my own path. I almost said journey there, which would be disastrous.
You didn't you? But so why are some people not assertive? Okay. And there's 3 points that came up. First one was, they often believe deep down that they are less worthy than others.
The important thing about that is to work out why.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's destructive for you to think that you are, your needs are less valuable than other people's. But just knowing that, or just feeling that, is not, that's not taking you towards solution, is it? Really, if you do feel like that, you would benefit from doing some sort of work to understand, well, where have I learned that? What's happened? Because unless you believe you were born feeling that your needs are not as important as other people's, and I wouldn't think many people think that, then at somewhere along the road, you've learned that.
Yeah. A lot of people perhaps aren't assertive, or not assertive enough, because they doubt themselves and hesitate before taking any action because of the fear of the consequences.
Yeah. You avoid being assertive because you fear that by asserting your own needs, you'll upset someone else, and whatever that results in will feel worse than pushing away your own needs.
Yeah.
But as as we were talking about before, where does that end?
They frequently avoid trying new. This is what the third point. They frequently avoid trying new things and tend to let other people's desires determine their goals.
If you find yourself, here's a little thing to ask yourself to see if you have a tendency to avoid assertiveness. Are you one of those people who, when a friend or your partner or whatever says to you, what do you want to watch on telly? What do you want for dinner? You always say, I don't mind. Because if you're someone who always avoids the opportunity to make a choice, you're being passive. So you're avoiding assertiveness. And one of the reasons we avoid those sort of very simple opportunities for assertiveness is because we worry, oh, well, if I say I want this, you might want something different, and that's going to upset you. So it seems like a kind of really insignificant thing, but it's a real tell, because if you're avoiding assertiveness in even those tiny little everyday ways, then in what ways are you avoiding assertiveness in other aspects of life that might be more damaging?
It's a good point. I mean, what to watch on TV, I think a lot of us will ask the other person first. It almost seems polite to do so. But are you saying we're losing a sense of our own identity if we do that?
Yeah, we are, because, if you're sitting with someone and you say, what do you want to watch on telly? and or someone asks you and you avoid saying so because you're worried that they might want to watch something different, what you're ignoring is the fact that they're also an adult and they could say, well, I don't really want to watch that. Would it be okay if we watch this? Then you've got two people being assertive, right? So, and obviously as adults, you have to kind of sort it out, but it's much better for a relationship to tell someone what you really want and what you really feel. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it, and doesn't necessarily mean that it's right that you should demand it. But it's healthier for a relationship if you tell someone, this is my preference.
So in that set of circumstances about what to watch on TV, I know a number of people to say, well, we'll put what you want on the TV. I'll watch whatever I want on my iPad with my earphones in. Is that a compromise, or does that lead to a sort of a relationship slowly drifting apart?
Well, that's a good question, actually, because if you say to your partner, what do you want to watch on telly, and they tell you and you say, that's okay, you watch that, I'll watch something else on my iPad with my earphones in, there's nothing wrong with that unless you're doing it in a bit of a huff.
Oh, right, okay.
In which case, you're being passive-aggressive.
Right, yeah.
So you're saying, if your partner says, is that okay? Is it okay for, yeah, that's fine, I'll just watch something on my iPad. When you're really thinking, no, it isn't fine. Yeah. You're not being assertive. You're being passive-aggressive. And obviously, if you throw something at your partner when they say they want to watch something, then you're being aggressive. Okay. So, they're the kind of four positions you can adopt. You can be assertive, you can be passive-aggressive, you can be aggressive, or you can be passive. There's no other option. You've got to be one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you came round on Thursday, and fortunately, we both wanted to watch the same thing on the TV.
What, the football? Yeah.
Correct. Now, if you'd come round and I said, well, actually, I want to watch a repeat of Bake Off tonight.
Yeah.
Then you might have, I don't know, you'd probably have been aggressive, wouldn't you?
Honestly, yeah, I was going to swear then, yeah. How to be more assertive? We've from what we've been talking about so far, it's quite clear that having that part of your personality where you can be more assertive in the right times, in the right moments, or even you may say you should always have that in the locker. How do we be more assertive?
Do you want me to give you my 9 ways to build assertiveness?
Give all 9, mate. Yes, if they're good.
Right. I don't know. You can be the judge of that.
I will.
The first one is to recognise that discomfort is okay. So if you are someone who isn't assertive and you're trying to be assertive, you have to accept that transition will be uncomfortable.
Okay.
So one of the reasons we avoid assertiveness is we say, actually, you'll recognise this as someone in recovery, because we've talked before about how one of the things that stops people going from active addiction into recovery, they want to feel strong enough to go into recovery before they.
Yeah. Yes.
And we both know you can't do that. You have to go into recovery in order to feel strong enough.
Yeah.
It's the same with assertiveness. If you're someone who isn't assertive, you have to start being assertive in order for it to feel comfortable.
Okay.
So you have to kind of walk through the discomfort of asserting yourself, setting boundaries, being clear with people about what you want, because otherwise you can't ever get there. So that's the first way. The second way is practice making choices. Like we've just said, start with really simple little things. When someone says, what do you want for dinner? Choose. Even if you don't have a preference, choose, because you're practicing not only asserting yourself, but you're also, and this is a kind of byproduct of being assertive, you start to recognize more about what you want. Sometimes if you've led a life of being passive, you don't even know what you like because you're so used to letting other people choose. Number 3 is practice saying no.
Okay. Learning how to say no, I suppose.
Learning how to say no, start small. Yeah. You don't have to push back against things that fill you with panic and anxiety. If you find it difficult when someone invites you somewhere to say no and you kind of end up saying yes and then pulling out the last minute, that's passive aggressive. So you've got to change that behavior. So start with small things. Start expressing a preference. So do you like this? Do you like that? No, I don't really. Again, it kind of feels uncomfortable when you first do it, but after a while it becomes more comfortable. That's 3. Number 4 is recognize that some people will resist your assertiveness. So you might have someone in your life, or there might be people in your life who always want to be in control. They are going to be people that are harder to assert yourself with. But you have to recognize that when someone adopts a position that is kind of one up versus you, when someone behaves as if their needs are more important than yours, there's no point you waiting for them to come down and be reasonable with you. You will have to step up and be a little bit firmer and say, no, this is actually what I want, or I don't want to do that, or don't touch me there, or whatever it might be. So that's another one. The fifth one is accept you won't always succeed. So one of the things that's important in terms of changing behavior in this way is to recognize that it's progress that you want. You don't have to assert yourself in every single situation. Sometimes the emotion of a situation will be overwhelming. So if you attempt to assert yourself, or you think I must assert myself here, and you end up not doing so, be gentle and forgiving with yourself, because, making those big changes, particularly if you've done them all your life, is hard. Number 6 is don't be an apologist. One of the things that people do when they start to assert themselves is they'll assert themselves and then they'll apologize and say, I'm sorry. Is that okay? Are you all right with that? Don't do that. Because as soon as you start doing that, you're kind of undermining your own choice. You don't have to. It's okay. If someone asks you to make a choice and you make it, it's okay. Number 7 is when other people tell you you're behaving unreasonably, that isn't necessarily the case. Maybe they're telling you that for their own means. Maybe they're telling you that because they wanted the opportunity to assert themselves, and you being assertive has robbed them of that. So there's a kind of, if you find it difficult to assert yourself, if someone pushes against you, sometimes it's very easy to think, oh, I'm being overbearing, or I'm being selfish, or whatever it might be. But just because someone else thinks that you're being like that doesn't necessarily mean that you are. I'm nearly there. Number 8 is when you assert yourself, you don't have to keep talking. You don't have to keep reiterating. You don't have to over-explain. I mean, in the workplace, for example, can you stay late and finish this report? No, I can't tonight. I'm busy. That's it. It's like your phrase, no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And the last one is a kind of, I suppose, an all-encompassing one, which is remember that the root of being assertive is self-love, caring about yourself, recognizing probably above all else that you deserve to be assertive. Being assertive is not selfish. It's not ignoring other people's needs. It's recognizing and occupying the space that you deserve in the world.
Sounds very good. And the only other thing that came up was, is there anything in any sort of body language that we should adopt or not adopt when we're trying to be assertive? Does that, anything other than a normal posture, can that come across as aggressive or passive, or is that something you've ever looked at?
I've not really thought about that, but I'm sure that the answer is yes. Your body language, when they say, don't they, that 70% of our communication is our body language.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm sure there are ways of undermining your words by the way that you're positioning your physical body. Well, have you got something on that?
No, well, it was the opposite of undermining your words, really. It's just that if to remain confident, or the attributes of a confident person is to stand up tall and make eye contact.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have trouble making eye contact or maintaining eye contact. I think a lot of us do, don't we? Especially if it's too long. There's probably an optimum amount of time you should look someone in the eye.
I think if you kind of look at someone and then you avert your gaze and you kind of glance at them once in a while, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
But what about the tone of your voice? Should you be, I mean, if you can get your point across in a more humorous or jocular fashion, does that make it easier on both parties to avoid possible confrontation? Or is that a way of being less assertive than you should be?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As long as you're not, to use humour to diffuse a situation, I think is fine. But I suppose it's like anything. You've got to be careful not to overuse it, not to use it inappropriately. I think the other thing, though, about tone is I think it's easy for us to kind of get louder and speak more quickly when we're trying to be assertive. But actually, the reverse is assertive. It's like you were saying with posture. If you're standing up straight and you maintain some eye contact, then you need to speak just at a normal volume and at a normal speed, because actually that's much more assertive than anything else.
Yeah. I want to use a quote hit at this point, if we can just sort of wrap up the main bulk of what we're talking about. And the quote is, "This is your friendly reminder that being assertive and having boundaries is not the same thing as being rude and selfish."
Absolutely right. I've got a quote to finish with as well.
Oh, okay.
This was from Elizabeth Warren, US Senator Elizabeth Warren. I think she set up the Warren Commission, I think. Right, she said if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu.
Being on the menu is being passive, effectively, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the menu, would you?
No, I wouldn't. No, especially no.
I think you'd be quite tough.
I don't want to be served up with chips, with crack and chips.
Crack and chips and a side order of Martin.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good, does it, mate?
Not really.
Actually, no, there was something I just wanted to say. Just something that cropped up just when I was thinking there. If you are in a position where you're having to deal with a narcissist, is assertiveness ever going to get you anywhere?
No, it isn't. And actually, that's a good point, because there are some people, some situations where your assertiveness will always kind of fall on deaf ears, but there's no reason to kind of doubt yourself. Sometimes if your assertiveness is not landing, that's not because you're not being assertive enough. It might just be because the other person isn't willing to accept your assertiveness. Yeah. And the other reason that's a really good point is be careful of being assertiveness if you're in a situation, a kind of toxic relationship, a dangerous one, where you fear for your safety. Yeah. Don't ever try and be assertive in that. The most assertive move you can make if you're in that sort of relationship is get out of it.
Yeah.
So it's a mistake to be assertive if you fear for your safety, or certainly to be assertive vocally. Does that make sense?
I'm glad you've answered that, because that's come up on more than one occasion recently.
If you think about what the root of assertiveness is, the root of assertiveness is making sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation where you fear that you're not going to be okay if you open your mouth, don't.
Should we go on to? Should we wrap that up then? Go on to our gratitude list.
Yeah. You this week?
I can go first this week if you like.
Go on then.
Mine's quite straightforward, really. I'm sure everyone would agree that I'm grateful for quilted toilet paper. What are you laughing for? That's straightforward, isn't it? It should be on everyone's gratitude list.
Yeah, I'm not on board with that one.
Well, it's just, do you remember at the start of COVID, where for some reason people thought it was going to give you the shits, and everyone ran out and got loads of toilet paper, and so the shelves were bare. I remember going into the supermarket, and all that was left was sort of the most expensive ones. So I tried them out, and they were quilted, and they were lovely. I thought, I'm sticking with these.
Really?
Yeah, it was a much nicer experience.
So is that a little luxury that you allow yourself?
I do. There was another one I tried that was like scented, like a chamomile or something.
Oh, it's not an aloe vera one or something?
Yeah, it might have been aloe vera. Yeah, no, I didn't get on with that. But the normal quilted one, yeah, I'm a big fan. So
I don't share the desire to use quilted toilet paper, but what I do applaud is your willingness to spend a little bit more for your own comfort and joy. Mm. So
especially during COVID.
Especially during COVID, but really any time.
Yes.
So on my gratitude list this week is capos.
Oh, right, on your guitar.
On my guitar. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, I feel very grateful for capos or capos. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Capo.
Capo, yeah, capo. Some people say capo, I think. Anyway, I'm grateful for those because they really help a limited guitarist find lots of different ways, lots of different sounds and chord voicings and all sorts of things. So if I didn't have a capo, I'd be much more limited than I already am. So I'm quite grateful for them. I've got a lot of them as well.
You can get quite fancy ones, can't you?
You can. They're very, very expensive.
Yeah, well, the cheaper ones are just sort of almost like an elastic band around the back sort of thing, aren't they?
Yeah, I haven't got any of those, but some of them you can pay like 40 quid for one these days. Yeah, It's mad. Anyway, there we are.
Okay, well, that's it really. I was going to look at daysoftheyear.com.
Yeah.
There's a couple, in fact, one came up this morning when I was just checking, but the first one that came up was the National Department Store Day, which is, they're a disappearing item on our high street, aren't they?
National Department Store Day.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, they definitely need a day, don't they?
They do.
Because they are. I mean, I remember when we were growing up, we had Dunnings, didn't we, and Cheesemans.
We did, yeah. There was more than one choice in the town centre, but in those days, Wednesday afternoon they'd be closed as Sunday as well.
Yeah.
So there was limited chance to use them, or more limited than in latter years.
I used to go to see Father Christmas in both Dunnings and Cheesemans.
Of course, yeah.
But in the Cheesemans one was always better.
I think it probably was. I can't remember which one it was, either Dunnings or Cheesemans upstairs. It was a converted place, wasn't it? Because it had a sprung dance floor. So you were sort of bouncing across the top floor.
Yeah, yeah.
Its previous incarnation was that, obviously. Do
you remember the Dalek in Cheesemans?
I do remember the Dalek. You could sit inside it. You
could, and put your 5p in.
Well, it was sixpence, wasn't it?
Was it sixpence? And it would say exterminate, wouldn't it, and all that caper?
And twist around. Yeah, fantastic.
Mm.
Anyway, that's
happy days.
Well, yeah. So that was one of the days. National Feral Cat Day, which I thought was quite interesting.
Feral cat?
Feral Cat Day.
So like wild cat?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that look after them and feed them and stuff.
They're a bloody nuisance because they come and shit in my raised beds.
Yeah, there tend to be that many. Most cats are owned, aren't they? We don't get that many feral cats around.
I don't care whether they're owned or feral. I don't want them shitting in my beetroot.
I remember as children, we had 2 feral cats that we adopted, and they were born in the factory over at Goldwell where my dad worked.
Oh, right.
And brought them home. They were Benson and Hedges.
Oh, I remember them, yeah.
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 They came back with us. And that's strange because that would have been like during the 70s. And I've got a feeling one of the brothers in Oasis called their cat Benson and Hedges many, many years later. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's another rabbit hole to fall down. Interesting names for pets, because friend of this podcast, Greg Wright, the late Greg Wright,
Greg Wright,
he had a cat called Black Sabbath.
Did he?
Must have been difficult to call it, though, mustn't it, when it was out and you wanted it to come back in? Black Sabbath, yeah. Black Sabbath.
Yes, there is. I've got quite a number of interesting names for pets, but we digress.
We'll come back to that another day, maybe.
Another episode, perhaps, yeah. But the one that caught my eye just this morning was it's called National Mulligan Day.
Mulligan?
Mulligan Day. Have you come across that on the golf course?
I was going to say, yeah, that's the only place I can think of it is on the golf course.
Exactly. It's all about giving yourself a second chance, which is quite an interesting one, really, isn't it? Yeah,
I can't remember the conditions under which you're allowed to do that on the golf course, but I suppose everyone in recovery is giving themselves a second chance, aren't they?
Exactly. We have Mulligan days quite often. We've got loads of Mulligan days during the year.
Okay, good.
And just on this day in music.
Oh, okay.
You would be quite in 1972 on this date. Creedence Clearwater Revival split up, so I suspect you. I bet that put you into mourning, didn't it?
I was only 7.
7, and the Beatles recorded Day Tripper in one day, 3 takes, one day. Day Tripper.
That's not bad, is it? Good. Well, I'm going to be assertive now, so I've got to go because I've got some bread in the oven and it needs to come out.
You didn't need to explain why you was going to have to wrap it up. You could have just said, "I'm wrapping it up."
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah, now fuck off.
Yeah, but that might be edited out, it might not. Anyway.
It will be in the audio, certainly.
Can't you bleep it out?
I could do. I've never tried that.
Have you got a bleep
system? Yeah, I'm sure I could do one. I might find some sort of a bleep.
If you can, because then I can swear more then in future and you can just bleep it as necessary.
All right, I'll have a look.
Good work.
All right, then.
Cheers, then.
Laters.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.